The Business of Benefits is your no BS, no sales guide to real solutions.
No gimmicks, just the truth about how to take control, transform your benefits, and care for your most valuable asset, your people.
If you're tired of the same old sales pitch and you're ready to rethink your benefits, this podcast is for you. The truth is out there. Are you ready to hear it? And we are back, but this year we've got something a little bit different. So season 2 of our podcast is called The Business of Benefits. So Donovan and I, we were really excited about launching our podcast last year. Everybody was asking us questions about it and they're like, so it's a benefits podcast, right? And what ended up happening, it wasn't, by the way, it was a business entrepreneurial leadership type podcast, but we did have a lot of benefits focused guests and they ended up being our best performing episodes. So you guys gave us some data. We love data. We listened. This year, it's all about benefits. So this year's different, and here to tell you all about it is my handsome husband, Donovan. So Donovan, what are we doing this year?
I'm not sure.
That sounds right.
We are going to basically discuss strategies for employee benefits, try and make something very convoluted, complicated, complex, a little bit more transparent, with actionable strategies, things that can actually do. How do they work? How do you implement them? What are the results?
Love it. So guys, everyone listening, I want you to think of this new season as your no BS, no sales, no gimmicks, just 100% honest answers and solutions. And these are the things that we are bringing to our clients every single day. We know that they work. All the things we're going to talk about this year are rooted in data. So without further ado, the first season, the opener, what we're doing right now, we're going to talk about something really interesting, and it's actually Donovan's specialty. So we're going to talk about the concept of healthcare financing. So tell our listeners a little bit about how you utilize the term healthcare financing and how you came up with it.
I think before any employer group thinks about their healthcare problem or they try to go about resolving it, finding solutions, they fundamentally need to have a paradigm shift, okay? And that shift is when we think about insurance in our lives, off of what we know personally, insurance is typically used in the unlikely or untimely event of something occurring. In the unlikely event your home burns down, you have homeowners, you total your car, you have auto. In the untimely event of your death, you have life insurance, right? So it's kind of these improbable, unlikely events that we're taking care of. When we're talking about employee benefits, it's completely different, okay? It is completely predictable that your employees are going to use the healthcare. And if you have 50 to 100 employees, somebody is using it every single day. So what we see on average with our employers is that there's about 15 claims per employee per year. That's not 15 divided evenly, right? Obviously, there's a lot of people who don't use it at all, but then there's some people who have their kids on, they're picking up prescriptions, ER visits, doctors, specialists, all kinds of things. So let's not be surprised and think, oh my God, we were really unlucky. We had medical claims. We had high medical claims. We have 100.
That's the whole point.
We have 100 employees on the plan and we had a cancer claim. Unfortunately, that too is predictable. Like that is going to be expected, not every year, but every second or third year, it's predictable. So when we shift that mentality and we realize, oh, we are going to use this, it's no longer a conversation of insurance and oops, we got unlucky, this happened to us again. We flip it and now we realize what we're really doing is we're financing the healthcare costs, and that's going to continue. And we shouldn't be surprised, basically.
Right. Something that I love about the way that you speak about healthcare and the way that we as an organization approach it is we're always saying, if you're thinking about it in a proactive way, right, which is healthcare financing, like how are we financing these claims? How can we pay less for claims? The idea of a benefits business plan or a healthcare business plan, right? Because it seems to me that the majority of employers we speak to before we work with them, it's a very reactive renewal process. It's, okay, something comes in, your broker negotiate it down. Oh, thank God for that. You had really shitty claims. It is what it is. We're going to increase deductibles. We're going to hop to another carrier. Ooh, why don't we just narrow the network? Those are one-year Band-Aids, and those are not part of a long-term strategy. And I, in my humble opinion, wouldn't consider that a benefits business plan. And part of the reason that I wanted to start this podcast this year with the specific title, The Business of Benefits, is Donovan said it perfectly. There needs to be a paradigm shift. Like, we can't go into this problem of healthcare inflation year after year. Employees hate it. Employers hate it. Everybody's pissed off. Our books are falling from the sky. You can't go into those conversations asking the same questions, doing the same things, and expecting different results. So it starts with thinking about it like a financial product. So what happens when you think about this as a financial product?
It's like anything else in your business now, right? Like now that you realize, oh, this is going to get used every single day, and you flip that and you realize, actually the healthcare plan is likely the largest area of accounts payable in your whole business.
Yeah.
Right? So think of that again, 15 claims per employee per year times all the employees you have on. If you have 100 employees, that's 1,500 invoices coming into the healthcare plan, right? Totally predictable, totally expected. So now that we understand that, we realize what we really need to do is understand and control the supply chain, just like anything else.
I remember like early on in the industry, when I started doing this, 8-10 years ago, whatever it is now, hearing healthcare supply chain and being like, what exactly is meant by that? So for the HR, CFOs, employers listening, can you kind of walk us through that supply chain?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest and first things we should think about, of course, is pharmacy, right? RX costs. I think the second thing, of course, is hospital prices, right? And intuitively, every American knows like the pricing models, the inflation across those categories. It doesn't really make sense. The prices are made up. Like we know Canada gets drugs 50 to 70% less from the same manufacturers. So we know there's some funny stuff going on, but it's all meant to seem so complex that we couldn't possibly impact it. But you really can. Once you think of it a little bit differently, you realize this is just a cost and you start benchmarking those costs, you can make improvements.
I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about your background. So I would venture to guess, knowing you the way that I know you, that the term healthcare financing has a lot to do with your fiduciary background. So for any new listeners, do you want to just give a brief synopsis of that piece of your life?
Sure,
and how that's formed Ethos Benefits?
Yeah, I mean, the idea was simple. So Ethos Benefits formerly was J. Donovan Financial, which was a registered investment advisory. And from that, we were fiduciary financial advisors. And that's an important distinction in finance and financial advice, that someone should be transparent, always act in your best interests, and disclose all compensation to the client, right?
Why is that like not the norm?
Crazy, right? It's so. And around the time we started, there was a thing coming on in the industry. It's called the fiduciary rule, where they were working on imposing that standard for all financial advisors. And like any good lobbyist, they push back, they delayed it, and then it kind of just went away. And we got this really watered down version. So they were working on doing that. So it's still not a across the board rule, right? Anyway, so as a registered investment advisory, our business was really focused on employers and business owners. They had some more interesting like tax structures and opportunities that they could use. But what I realized is that financial advisors were focusing on the things that they could get paid from. So they're focused on taking the money in so they can get a assets under management fee. What they weren't focusing on was the business structure, a trust structure, a will, like all these other things that could mean huge tax implications. However, they weren't worried about it. They weren't worried about setting everything up appropriately because they were really just focused on getting their commissions, right? So my focus was like, I am going to understand all these things. I'm going to understand the proper trust for life insurance, revocable trust, ILETs, defined benefit plans, defined contribution plans. And because I know everybody else is just focused on them, like they're going to neglect all these pieces. And I can go in and show a business owner, hey, you're leaving 35% on the table because you didn't set this up correctly and you're just going to pay tax on it. Your kids are never going to see it, right? And that's kind of how the healthcare thing happened. So somebody just asked, for help on that and said, hey, the brokers said I got to pay 40% more on my healthcare. this is it. I got to pay it, right? Can you help? And I was like, sure. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I can do that.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Never sold health insurance. Didn't want to sell health insurance.
I don't blame you.
I mean, I'm a financial advisor. I'm like, I don't want to sell no health insurance.
Yeah.
And what I came to find out was the exact same thing, is that what was being recommended to that first employer that I first worked with was what was efficient for them financially.
Yeah, versus
in
what was
commission.
actually best
Right.
for the client.
Yeah. So the problem was looked at very narrowly, very artificially, very like on the surface. And it was just kind of shopping out to the 4 carriers.
Right.
Where I was a financial advisor, so I was looking for more data.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what do you mean the 40% renewal is on one piece of paper? That's it. The justification, the premiums next year, it all fit on one page.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, there's got to be thousands of claims.
Right.
So that's what I focused on. And it took a little bit more work, but we figured it out, made a 40% impact on that renewal, and just realized that is the area of need, because that 40% was going to impact about 60 employees and their families, right, on that first case. So the same thing happens. Unfortunately, there is no fiduciary standard in employee benefits, which is what we aim to do today.
That's literally how we started, was because of this story that you just told, taking all Donovan did. And like, I love telling this story because it's truly the number one value in our company, fiduciary first. But it's like, it's not only you're the founder, the founding story of the company. It's every single thing that we have done since that first story has been through the lens of being a fiduciary.
Yeah.
It's only with prudence and doing what's best for a client. The interesting piece is that, to your point, there are no laws that mandate that brokers, advisors, consultants, whatever name is, the word of the week, there's no standard for them, but there is for employers.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
They can sell you whatever crap they package together, and it's up to the employer to be smart enough not to buy it. And unfortunately, the employer is the one that has the liability.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that. So like, it's like anything else. People think there's safety in a big insurance carrier, a big broker, all that kind of stuff. And now we're finally seeing those lawsuits that I predicted a decade ago.
Literally that, you guys, like, I wish I could have recorded this conversation with you, because Donovan's like, hey, I think we should put fiduciary and like make this a part of our sales process and make this a part of like who we are as a company. The lawsuits in 401k are absolutely nothing compared to the fraud, waste, and abuse happening in health plans.
Yeah.
It's going to blow up. We need to prepare for it now. And I remember being like, I mean, it can't hurt. Yeah, let's do it. But not having any idea the magnitude of what was to follow.
Yeah. There's hundreds of 401k lawsuits every single year still. And it's over relatively small amounts.
Right.
So 25 basis points, 50 basis points, that's 1/4% or 0.5% only on the money they contribute, which on average across this country has got to be like $4,000 to $6,000 max.
Right.
So we're not talking a ton of money. And comparatively, a single premium now for healthcare is in the 16,000s annually.
And families next year, 27,000.
Yeah.
Whew. So to wrap us up here, everyone, the point of this episode was the concept of healthcare financing. The fact that if you look through a financial lens, if you take a business approach to designing a strategy for healthcare, you're going to have a lot more success than just playing this reactive game year after year. And then obviously just sharing this fiduciary piece, which we're going to dive into a ton this year, because guys, these lawsuits, like, we're tip of the frickin' iceberg. It's about to get real. So this was really like setting the stage for what's to come. We're going to talk about misconceptions in healthcare. We're going to dive into data. There's going to be case studies, all sorts of things. But I think the big overarching theme that you're going to hear throughout this season is what Donovan just explained to everybody, which is healthcare financing and having that fiduciary perspective and designing a benefits business plan. So we're going to go through all types of strategies, how to do that. I am so excited for this new season, personally.
I am too. We're going to keep it short and sweet, actionable strategies on everything. We're not trying to make hundreds of dollars of impact on your annual healthcare spend. We're going into the hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on annual premium spend with real life strategies and case studies proven with some ideas on how to implement and use them.
it's about to get real. And by real, we mean real data, real stories, real people, and real impact. So we can't do this without your support. Please like, share, subscribe, give us feedback. The feedback last year was awesome. Like, hey, we love you talking about business and entrepreneurs, but we'd really love to hear what you're doing on benefits because you seem to be doing cool shit. So share it with everybody. Give us that feedback. We are here. We are listening. We appreciate you all. Have an amazing day.